So welcome everybody as you join us here. You may or may not be appearing on the screen. So that's okay. You should be able to see the screen. So you should see a virtual meeting etiquette. It's Alistair here. Great to be with you and about to embark on our first congregation meeting, and looking forward to this adventure with you. Okay. There we are. So I see Andre's here, Colin is here, assuming Winnie, David, Dixie, welcome Dixie. And I wonder, Marnie, if it's possible to make Dixie a co-host. I don't, just to bring her up. Everybody else, we're good. We are going to be using Q&A for the Q&A portions of this conversation. You're all muted, and that's really because we've learned over the years, I've learned over the years, that if, as caring as we are, there's always some noise in the background or somebody forgets to mute themselves or something. So we're all muted, and it appears as though we're all, or all of you are just on audio. You should be able to see us, but your faces are not on, and that's going to help us with the bandwidth as well. So it's great to have you here. I'm just going to run through a little bit of patter here, and I'll repeat this a few times as we welcome people on board. Everyone but the panel is muted, so we're going to invite you to use the Q&A, and the Q&A is on your screen, should be on the screen. At the lower, if you look underneath the lower black line of the screen, you should say Q&A. You'll also see a chat, but we're going to do our best to use the Q&A. It may be, depending on your system, at the top of your screen. You'll see Q&A and the participant list and all that good stuff. So welcome, Ren. Good to have you here. Welcome, Jennifer, and I presume Jim, and Paul is here, and Ren, Sumbani. What's going to happen is you're going to hear from Melissa as the priest in charge. Then Marnie and Alberto are going to give us an update on the Maundy Cafe. Mike Denhan, one of the trustees, is going to provide a financial update for us. And then Helen is going to give us an update on worship and the community. We're going to operate on radio time, which means we will be starting bang on 5 o'clock. So if you want to run and get a cup of tea or something in preparation for that, my clock is showing 4:49 Pacific time. So we're about 11 minutes from the start. And we're going to shoot for a 10 to 6 end. Want to build in a little bit of wiggle room, but we'll certainly be ended no later than 6 p.m. Pacific time. And it is very good that you're here. We're looking forward to this conversation. Emily and I are going to be watching the Q&A. So let's say we've listened to Melissa, and we listened to Marnie and Alberto, and we're going to now hear now we're going to go into a Q&A for a few minutes. So welcome folks as you're joining. So we'll go into a Q&A for 2 or 3 minutes. Those questions, are going to invite you to put them in the Q&A part, to type them in. And the reason for that is, that we want to make sure that everybody's questions can at least be recorded. We may probably won't be able to get to everybody's questions, but we'll have them recorded, so we'll be able to respond in some way. We'll just see where those questions wind up. So Emily and I will be watching the Q&A, and we're going to answer whatever we can. If you would like, just so you know, the Q&A is either going to be, it's going to be a black bar at the bottom of your screen or at the top of the screen, and you'll see things like mute and stop video and participants and all sorts of good things. Just click on Q&A. And in fact, why don't you, right now, if you have a moment, just type into the Q&A so people get a chance to practice this. Just type in, pardon me, a hello. So if you could just type in a hello into the Q&A, that would be great. Great. All right, Kevin and Ren and Kathy and David, hello, perfect. Anne, hello. Excellent, excellent, we're getting there. So I'm going to, thanks very much. I think, there we are. I'm just going to start dismissing them so we don't have these recorded. It's good that you're doing this, but thanks very much. And thanks, Jennifer. Thanks very much, Jennifer. We're expecting just shy of 100 people. And Christ is risen indeed, Colin, yes. Bonjour, Diane and Dawn, welcome. So great, we'll keep doing that. It's now about 8 minutes to the top of the hour if you want to go and get a cup of tea. It is an Anglican gathering, perhaps perhaps a glass of something. Years ago, Peter and I were doing some work up at Sorrento Center. We walked by a window and heard somebody in the cabin on the inside of the cabin as we walked by the window, the words, "Oh, thank God you found the tonic." And I turned to Peter and said, "It is an Anglican camp." It's good you're here. And thank you. No, in Q&A, the only people who are going to see the questions, so Anne's asking, are we supposed to be able to see each other's questions? No, you won't be able to see the other people's questions. Only the panelists will be too. Oh, and maybe Kathy's put something in chat. Chat's another way of going. We'll certainly be monitoring that, but Q&A is your friend for this evening. And it's good everybody's here. We're now up to 15 folks, so glad you're here. I got another Q&A coming in here. Great. Is it too late for people to join if they have not registered? I think yes. I'm going to have to say yes, because we only had room for 100 people. And I think we're going to, so Jennifer's asking is it too late for people to join if they haven't registered? I think yes, it is, because we only had room for 100 people. So I want to make sure first come, first served. But we will be taking the Q&A. We're going to be recording the Q&A. And so hopefully we'll be able to get answers out to people as we go. Well, not hopefully, we will be able to get answers out to people. We hope that'll, and there's somebody in the chat. Thanks, Kathy, great. And no, you will not be on camera. David's asking, are we on camera? No, you're not on camera. Please behave appropriately. But just the way this particular process is set up is that only the panelists are on camera. And that's actually going to be good for us because it'll mean that the bandwidth is going to be a little easier on all of us. We should see less of the freezing and that kind of thing. And so, good. Here's everybody coming on board. Great to have everybody here. Welcome, Stanley. Got about 5 minutes to the top of the hour, and we will get started then, or the bottom of the hour if you're in Newfoundland and Labrador. But I don't think we're going to get anybody from Newfoundland and Labrador. It is interesting, though, just as a side note, we're getting folks from other places. Andre has been telling us that Morning Prayer has had folks from other places, and Wondering Wednesdays has been getting a guy from San Francisco area, and a really interesting lady from Waterloo. Waterloo, Ontario,
Mm.
where it snowed the other day. So let me go through the top again. You will notice as you join that we are that it's just the panelists that you can see. So only the panelists are on camera. That's going to help save some bandwidth. And you are muted. So the way to ask questions is through the Q&A. So if you haven't done so already, you can it'll either be at the top of the screen, little black bar, you'll see Q&A, or at the bottom of your screen, Q&A. Just type your question in there. And
Alistair just learned that Godly Place is hosting a family from Alaska.
Oh, right on, right on. That's great. Yeah. So it's good. We're getting out into the world. Okay, we're getting close to 20 people. We're getting very close to the top of the hour. As we go through, you're going to hear from Melissa. You're going to hear from Marnie and Alberto. You're going to hear from Mike and Han. You're going to hear from Helen. And at the end of each of the little mini presentations, there'll be time for Q&A. We're going to be recording the Q&A. If we're not able to get to your answer, to get to your question, we will find a way to answer that. So please send the questions in. That way we know that we have some data that we can actually get back to you on. We are going to be operating on radio time. We're going to start at the very top of the hour in 3 minutes time. And we will go ideally until 10 to 6. Built in some wiggle room in the agenda that if we have to go to 6, we will. But ideally we'll finish at 10 to 6. And we are going to start with some prayer in a couple of moments. In a couple minutes, I'll be introducing the Archbishop, or our priest in charge. I have to work that out. Anyway, till June the 1st, our priest in charge, Melissa. It is really good that you're here. Welcome. We've got Liz and Hannah. Susan here. This is, it's great. Great to see so many names. Welcome, Ed and Barbara. Great. If you're just joining us, if you could just go, it'll either be at the top of your screen, a little black bar, take the cursor up there and you'll see Q&A, or it'll be at the bottom of your screen, little black bar, Q&A. Just pop into the Q&A and type in a hello or a greeting of some sort, just so we can get some practice using that Q&A, because that's how you're going to be asking your questions. You're all muted. Hello, Susan, and hello. So just pop in your hellos and your greetings. Barbara, thank you. Good to see you. Richard, great. Oh, Adele, okay, great. Jake, oh, you're on the coast. Oh, I wish I was there. Jake and Lucy, Jane and Tom, great. Greeting everybody as instructed. Thanks, Gail. Hello from Hope. Welcome. We are a minute to the top of the hour. So I am going to, you'll be glad to know, I will be quiet. Oh, and there's Jennifer Carol Longman. You'll be glad to know that I'll be quiet in a moment. And I'm going to pass it over to Melissa in just a few seconds. It's so good you're here. Again, please use your Q&A to ask questions. And it's 5 o'clock. And Melissa, would you be so kind as to welcome us and lead us in prayer?
Welcome, everyone. It's just a pleasure to be sharing this time with you. Let us pray. Creator, we give you thanks for another day of life in your creation. We give you thanks for Christ Church Cathedral, its people, its leaders, its staff, and all the many people that it influences and affects to the good. Where we are fearful, O God, bring your peace and trust. Where we are sick, bring your healing touch. Where we are lonely, bring your companioning presence. Where we are confused, bring your clarity. Where we are grieving, bring your comfort. Where we are in need, bring your loving support. Surround us with your love and your light as we seek to be agents of that love and light here and now. Amen. Back to you.
Thank you. Thanks, Melissa. So we're getting up there. This is great. Almost 50 people on the call. It's so good you're here. And just so you know, you're on mute. And the reason we're doing that is so that we don't have any background noise, that we can be focused and attentive to the work ahead. We're going to be on a kind of radio time. So we started right on 5 o'clock. We're going to be on going to end at 10:02. We've got built in some wiggle room. If we need to go to 6, we will. But just imagine that the news is starting at 6 and we've got to get off the air. So if you could, please use Q&A to ask your questions. If you have a comment or something, you can use chat. But if you haven't done so already, we're now up to 53 folks, and we're expecting a couple more. If you could just say hello in the Q&A. So just go into Q&A. Thank you very much, Jeffrey. And lovely Carol, glad that you're joining on that phone. You won't be able to see people's questions, but you will. We promise that we will be answering them. Hi, Jennifer. We promise that we will be answering as we go along. It's really this adventure for us over the next 50 minutes or so is going to be about, as much as possible, bringing you up to speed on what's going on. And we're going to open this in just a moment with Melissa giving us a State of the Cathedral presentation, which I, for one, am looking forward to. It's lovely to see so many folks joining, and there we are. James, hallelujah, Christ is risen. Glad to be together. Thanks, Kate and Paula. And yes, Stanley, we will be welcoming our new rector on June the 1st, Chris Pappas. So hello, everybody. Great to have you here. And I'm going to pass it back over to you, Melissa, to get us started. Let's dive in. Enough of me. Let's dive in.
All right. Thank you, Alistair. Doesn't he do a great job at this? If this is radio time, give me it all the time. So hello, everyone. It's really wonderful to be able to be with the Christ Church Cathedral community in this role, my role as temporary priest in charge. And it will be over in 2 weeks. So I'm just kind of settling into things, and it will be gone before I know it. What I would say is this is a big job. And it's been enlightening to get back into parish ministry. And I remember it well, and it's a bit relentless. There's lots going on at our cathedral, and much creativity, much care, and I'd just like to say something about that. But before I get into something so large as the state of the cathedral, I'd like to thank my predecessor, Richard Lasser, for his work. As you know, with his concern about the potential of the provincial borders closing, he felt he needed to go back to his wife. And I completely understand that as a person who also goes back and forth across borders. I also want to thank James Sheetley as he approaches the end of his many years of work with the cathedral. And we're all praying for him as he and his family move east for a job opportunity for Heather and kind of a brand new start in a different part of the country. And we're welcoming Monty Tuwete in a new role as building services manager. And you will have time to get to know Monty when we gather together again. And so much continues, even as the world around us changes in ways we can't completely predict. Much continues and much changes at the cathedral in a world of changes. And all of this as we look forward to another big change, which is the arrival of Christopher Pappas as the next rector of the cathedral. So what I want to say to you is pretty simple, and it is this. In the midst of a changing and challenging time, your cathedral is still here, and your cathedral is still itself, still worshiping, still praying, still being a place of important social connection, still offering opportunities to learn, still serving those in need, particularly in its context at the intersection of West Georgia and Burrard Street, kind of the heartbeat, I think of it, of the city of Vancouver. We're still there, and you'll hear a lot about this from Helen, and you will from Alberto and Marnie about the there-ness of what we are doing, Sunday worship, morning prayer, socializing groups, learning groups, the reopening of the Maundy Cafe. You'll hear a lot about that. So just even though we're not gathering together in person in those beautiful, large worship experiences, just know the heart is beating and there's much going on. We're still there and we need your help. We need your help in two different ways. We need your help because we, like many cathedrals in the US and in Canada, and I've come to learn this, we are kind of harder hit by the financial challenges that COVID-19 presents us with. That's because of the source of income of the cathedral and many cathedrals, which is really extensive rental income and a lot of plate income from the many, many visitors we have in cathedrals. It's not like parish churches that don't have those in as large an amount or number. And so we need your help in the beautiful and generous giving you're already doing and in the additional giving that I know, as I've said before, my own family has undertaken, and we invite you to undertake if possible. And we also need your help in just continuing to participate in the many opportunities we have, because the cathedral is not the staff, it's the all of us, it's the us-ness. It's you tuning into the worship. It's you participating in Zoom meetings that are offered. It's you as a young family with the young family check-ins with Ann Kessler. It's you in Wondering Wednesdays. It's you in morning prayer. It's you in the many ways that you're gathering that we don't even know about. So that kind of participation really helps us stay who we are at this time. Particularly important as we await the arrival of our next rector. We're not waiting for him to get here to be ourselves. We're ourselves now, and we need you as a part of that. So just a couple of more comments on the induction. The induction of Chris Pappas is set for June 28th at 3 p.m. That's the plan now. You'll hear more about this as the time grows closer. I'm in touch with Chris every week. We check in, as do others, even that you see on this panel, so that he more and more is able to make an appropriate and fast start with all of our situation and our opportunities. And he's wowed even from a distance. So he's looking forward to being here. So what I'd like to do now is to turn this over to Alberto and Marnie to give you a glimpse of your cathedral at work as it serves the community. Of course, I'm talking about the reopening of Maundy Cafe, or as I like to call it, Maundy Cafe to go. So over to Marnie and Alberto to give you a little glimpse into what's going on in our context.
Yeah, thanks, Archbishop. So it's really on the hard work of Alberto and Andrew Stevens-Rennie that we were able to open reopen for Maundy Cafe to go, which is actually a great title for it because it pretty accurately describes what's happening. On Wednesday, April 29th was the first time we were able to come together. And we've been meeting now for the last 3 Wednesdays with a group of fabulous volunteers, and it's been my real pleasure to be there as pastoral support with Andre, and to just kind of get to reconnect with folks that we are used to seeing daily. And so I'm going to turn it over to Alberto, who is going to really show you and talk to you about what we've been up to.
Sure. Thanks, Marnie. Yeah, I'm just going to share my screen and show you a few pictures so you can get a sense of what has been happening. Just turn this on here. And all right, here we go. So first of all, I just want to thank you, all of you who have been praying, I know, for the many challenges that we have to overcome in order to reopen the Maundy Cafe to go, which I think should be our new title. I really like it. We should redo the signage. I'm really grateful. So many of you have reached out to just let us know that you're concerned and you're wondering how you can help. Many of you have signed up to volunteer. You can see some of them here on the screen to help get this thing off the ground. It has been quite a challenge to figure out how to operate safely during this pandemic. And yeah, I'm so thankful to all of you. Yeah, let me share a little bit of what we're up to. So yeah, as Marnie alluded to, since the 29th, we have been operating the Maundy Cafe to go. You can see here the tent that we sort of set up right outside the lower door, and you can see us setting up the bags to go. And so we've been creating meals to go, which include one big, basically I've been doing 16 ounces, so 1.5 servings of a hot meal. We've done curries, we've done chilies, and then we've been including a piece of fruit, a granola bar as a snack. We've been having a juice box and cutlery and napkin, as well as a little leaflet explaining what we're up to and when folks can expect to see us again. We've also been working behind the scenes to try to open up on other days. So right now the plan is to reopen again to reopen Mondays as a second day, again for lunch, beginning May 25th. And that has been wonderful, and it's been great to be able to tell our guests that we're expanding and we're able to go to that second step, which has been good. The other thing that's really exciting, and this is Marnie alluded to some of the work that Andrew has done. So what this is we are, as a cathedral, are a member agency of the Community Food Centers of Canada, and it is through them that we received the grant to be able to put together some hampers to hand out in the community, as well as purchase some gift cards that we can also hand out. And this is something that we're hoping to be able to roll out in the next 2 weeks. The gift cards should be on their way, and the hampers have been one of the challenges that we've had is working with, as many of you have seen, maybe if you've been at the store, you've seen that there are certain things that are out and are harder to get. And so luckily we've been able to partner with London Drugs at Georgia and Granville, and they're gonna put in a very large order for us to be able to source a lot of this stuff for us so that we can bring it in, create a bit of a pantry in the parish hall. You can see there, the lovely parish hall where we are assembling those bags to go. And we'll be able to put together pantries. And really this is gonna be in partnership with Father Matthew Johnson out of St. James and Reverend Vivian Seegers from Urban Aboriginal Ministry, as well as the West End Seniors Network and then Gordon Neighborhood House, to be able to distribute these hampers and gift cards to folks who are just really struggling right now. Many folks who are unable to come into an actual store to do that purchasing, but also just folks who are really struggling to find food right now, and who might be able to come and receive a meal from us, but are one meal, as you may know, isn't going to tide them over for the entire week. So hopefully this is a way in which we can help folks throughout this time that is difficult. I think one on the first day that we opened, I think I was nervous to see how many people would show. It was hard to try to get, seeing as we can't go visiting folks door to door, we can't go spread the word. And so I contacted agencies that were in partnership, many of the ones that I already mentioned, including the Gathering Place, and tried to get the word out that we were opening. And I was wondering how many folks were going to come. And especially I was worried, how would we contact some of our regulars? And I was really excited and touched. One of our regulars, a woman named Maria, came, and she showed up actually about 10 minutes after we had closed. you know, and she knocked on the door, and I was able to come out and say, oh, and I recognized her, and her face lit up and my face lit up, and it was just so good, even at that 6 foot distance, to just like be able to wave and say hi and how are you. And then I was able to, you know, we still had some food left, so I was able to put together a meal for her, and then I was able to chat with her about sort of how things were going for her, and just, you know, some of the struggles. So for example, she did have she had been using a mask out in public, but it was a disposable mask, and it had kind of been, you know, she'd been trying to wash it and it kind of just fallen apart. And so we did have a mask that I was able to give to her just so she can, as she's out riding transit and walking around. And it was great again to see her again today come and receive another meal. We had about 25 folks come the first 2 weeks, and today we had 45 folks come and receive a meal. So it's good that the word is getting out, and we're excited. And I hope to grow to the numbers that, to seeing some of those, the numbers that we were seeing before, all those lovely folks that we were in relationship with, and we were providing a place for the community to be built, to come, and at least we can wave to one another from 6 feet away and ask how we're doing, and just enjoy the humanity that we can at that distance. And I, once again, I long for the day when we can reopen the Maundy Cafe, where we can sit down together at the table to eat once again. Yeah. And again, once again, thank you to all of you who have been praying for us, who've been inquiring as to what we're up to, and those of you who've offered to volunteer. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Alberto. Thanks, Marie. Back to you, Melissa, just to close out. And we've got some questions coming in, but please go ahead, Melissa, and we'll come back to you. You're on mute.
A little bit. When things in the diocese had to close, everything had to close. We didn't know much about the disease. Everything had to close. So Maundy Cafe, just like many other important programs that provided meals or food in the diocese, you know, kind of had to come to a screeching halt. And I really appreciate the dedication to try to get this up and running. And actually, the careful preparation and plans that Maundy Cafe offered, as it said, we want back in, you know, really provided the impetus for a template for other feeding programs in the diocese to get permission to open. So hats off. The other thing I would say is the way you can find out about these ways to participate is to try to go to the webpage. We're trying to strengthen the way we're communicating, all the different opportunities for you to continue to connect in many different ways to others during this time of no in-person gathering. And so, you know, please check there, please go there, and we will do our best to make it easier for you to find out everything that's going on. So Alistair, over to you for any questions that people that you see. Yeah.
Thank you. Ian, I see your question. I'm just going to hold off on that one until we hear from Mike around finances. And Melissa, you had mentioned this when we were meeting earlier today. So maybe if you could just address this from Jennifer about Dr. Henry's announcement that churches could open. So maybe just what's our plan?
So today, I mean, 3 o'clock, a little after that, those who are able to watch Bonnie saw that she said religious communities could think of opening, I guess, after May the 19th. The current date, I have never thought we would go even at the very cautious speed we are observing in this province. And, you know, we're doing great on this. It's amazing. Yes, it's terrible. People are still getting sick. People are still dying, but it's at much fewer numbers than many places. And we're seeing such great decreases. On account of our population and its vulnerability, the current date we have in the diocese is June 14th. And actually, before today, I was thinking it would be further out. That gives us the time, because we're going to release next week the diocesan plan for reopening. That's a phased approach. And I want that to come to the cathedral and all the parishes in time for them to consider what they want to do when. So I do not anticipate I'm going to make any decision about it. Can be the 19th. That's very soon, because some time really needs to be spent planning what you want to do, what the sanitization plan, the social distancing plan. There's a lot of preparation that needs to happen and discussion about it as we kind of inch our way back into this. We don't want to scare ourselves, and we don't want to put the people we care about and people that they care about and people we don't even know at any kind of, increased risk. So that's coming. We just need to be a little patient with it. That plan will go out next week.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks very much, Jennifer. This is a question, I guess, for Marnie and for Alberto from Diane about, and maybe you had alluded to this, Alberto, a little bit too, about supply of disposable gloves and masks and sanitizers for the bags. Alberto, do you want to speak to that?
Sure. Yeah, I totally can. Yeah, it's something that we have looked at, and it's really it's a supply issue at this point. As many of you have seen in the store, I don't know if you guys have lines on where you're finding little mini bottles of sanitizer, let me know. But for the most part, that's not available. We actually, and one of these things of like the community coming together, we have some bottles of sanitizer, but it's actually coming from Parallel 49 Brewing. So,
Right.
Breweries are now making sanitizer, and they're graciously making it available to organizations like us. So at this point, the supply chain isn't there for us to be able to put that into the bags. What we are making available is we have some spray bottles of sanitizer that we are able to give to our guests so they can wash their hands or sanitize their hands before they come and receive the meal. That's what we're able to do at this point.
All right. Thanks very much. And there is a question from Colin about the difference between the title rector and dean. And I'll just answer that very, very quickly and then pass it over to Mike. The rector is the rector of Christ Church Parish. The dean is the dean of the diocese. So the dean is a diocesan role, and the rector is the parish role. And Melissa, just 30 seconds or so.
Yeah. So I've held off on naming a dean. Right now, I'm the dean, if you can believe it, because I want for Chris to focus on Christ Church Cathedral. The dean thing, that'll wait. And actually, it's not a very big role in our canons, but I just think it give him some time to kind of get oriented. There's plenty to do in the cathedral, very important work to be done in the cathedral. And I fully intend for him to be dean of the diocese. I just want to wait a while, let him get fully into the cathedral community.
Great.
That's my rationale.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks very much. Mike, do you want to take us into a finance update, please?
Absolutely. Thank you, Alistair. Good afternoon, everyone. It's good to be here. And I'm speaking on behalf of wardens and trustees to give everyone a sense of where we are financially and with our budget, as may come as no surprise to everyone in the cathedral community. This pandemic has hit everything of what we do, including our financial state. So I'm here to give you an update on that. Before I do also want to give a word of thanks to the cathedral clergy and staff and my fellow wardens and trustees. This has been a challenge of enormous proportions as we've tried to work hard to mitigate any damage, respond to restrictions, including restrictions on worship, and change what we do, stop some things, do other things better and more of, do new things, and really in some ways innovate on the spot within a cathedral community that's over 100 years old and is used to doing things a certain way. In some ways it feels like we're all in the desert. We're Israelites on a 40-year journey at the moment, had to pick up everything and change everything. And I've been encouraged and inspired and even excited at times, while we're also working hard and dealing with the enormity of this situation as a group of clergy and staff, wardens and trustees. So I just want to give a little word of thanks to everyone on the leadership team for pulling together. So our financial state, as I said, it's come as no surprise that we've experienced a significant loss in revenue with the cessation of public worship. What may come as a surprise to many is that a large portion of our revenue comes from visitors and plate offerings. So cathedrals are different than many parish churches in that a large portion of donations comes from visitors and building use donations. That's a larger portion than most parishes, I should say. So the primary places where this has occurred is in the offering plate and building rentals, as well as ad hoc visitor donations. So on average, our loss so far has been about $40,000 per month is what we are losing. And that is fairly serious. So the wardens and trustees as a group have been meeting weekly. We are getting weekly cash flow updates to ensure we can pay our bills, and we are paying our bills still, thankfully. So we are managing this at the moment. Staff and clergy are aware of our tight budget. We are finding cost savings where we can, but as will come as no surprise, we can't save everything and make up for this lost revenue. So we've been doing a number of other things. We have some relief from the diocese on our assessment. We have 6 months of relief for those payments, which is significant. We are also seeking government funds for support of some of our salaries, not all, but some of our salaries, and that will backdate to mid-March. We likely won't get that relief for a little while, so that does present a cash flow situation still. But as I said, we are still able to pay our bills at the moment. We're also seeking loan payment relief, and we are getting some loan payment relief from some of our lenders, and that is helping with our monthly cash flow. As you heard just a minute ago, Maundy Cafe has reopened, and that's been done in partnership with the city. So, thinking and talking about things we're doing new, that is a very exciting development for Maundy Cafe, that we're doing this in partnership with the city. What is also new is we have received new funding for the Maundy Cafe to help with that program and help reopen the cafe. We cannot use most of our reserve funds. That was something we have looked at and are continuing to look at. Most of our reserve funds are restricted. It is providing monthly revenues for core programs that we still can operate. So in that way, they are being used to help with this loss in revenue. And then lastly, we have also set up, as many know, a rapid relief fund to help with everything that's been impacted by pandemic restrictions. So the rapid relief fund is indeed for Maundy Cafe, but it's also for those other programs and areas where we're experiencing loss of revenue or program impacts due to pandemic restrictions. So that fund is set up to support that. And so far, we've raised $20,000 to date. All the wardens and trustees have stepped forward to give to that, and we're seeing a great response so far from the cathedral community, which we're excited about and happy to see that happening. So thank you to everyone who's given so far. I encourage everyone in the cathedral to consider what you can do to help. Consider giving or giving more if you're able. Consider participating. Please give your prayers and support as the wardens and trustees continue to manage, pay our bills, get us through this situation, and carry on forward. And that's my update. Thank you, Alistair.
Thanks, Mike. Emily, is there anything standing out in the questions for you? Just to open up to you.
Sure. Mike, there is a question there, sort of seeking clarification about the 300,000 that was on the web page and how that relates to the Rapid Relief Fund.
Sure. Yeah, great question. So we did some analysis and some modeling toward the end of our year to see what kind of impact financially the closure of worship and other pandemic restrictions would have on our budget. And it came out to about a $300,000 loss in revenue from our budget for the entire year, given pandemic restrictions. So we set up the Rapid Relief Fund. We have a goal of finding $300,000 through a combination of fundraising for the Rapid Relief Fund and other sources as well, if possible, finding savings, and any government support we can garner. So what we'll do is we will continue to update the cathedral community on where that stands in terms of our progress towards finding that $300,000, including the Rapid Relief Fund.
Great. There's another question that's come in from Kathy, and it's related, and she's asking how donating to the COVID Relief Fund is different from general giving, or if it is.
Yeah, it's a good question. What I would say is give where you can. The Rapid Relief Fund, it will be allocated at the discretion of the interim priest in charge, with input from wardens and trustees, to those areas where the cathedral really needs it. In the meantime, the cathedral community is continuing to give to the general operations of the cathedral, general programs of the cathedral, and that is welcome as well.
I think that's it in the Q&A line for now.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for your questions. There's still a couple that are out there, but I'm going to pass it over to Helen, because some of these questions I think are going to be related to some of what you're going to be talking about. Ladies and gentlemen, the vicar.
Hello, everyone. Great to see you. Great to be here to offer a presentation this evening on our worship services and how we're continuing to connect through small group gatherings. So I'm going to share my screen. Okay, hoping you can all see my screen now. We'll open up a PowerPoint here. So as you know, the bells at the cathedral are really important to our worship services and to our gatherings. So I wanted to play what I hope is a familiar sound and sight for you to start off here. All right, so hopefully you will recognize that. That is the bell peal from our cathedral bell tower. And every evening at 7 o'clock, in solidarity with healthcare workers and frontline workers, the cathedral bells peal to show our support for the community during this time. Of course, some of those essential frontline workers now also include our own Maundy Cafe staff and volunteers. So wonderful to be able to acknowledge them amidst other frontline workers at this time as well. So I wanted to just give a bit of a brief cool thing that happened in history this week. So yesterday, May 12th, 2020, was the 200th birthday of Florence Nightingale. And Florence Nightingale was a nurse, a frontline healthcare worker, 1854, really active in the Crimean War. And she's kind of an early adopter, or one of our ancestral adopters of physical distancing measures. And she introduced some really critical measures, hygiene and hand washing protocols, physical distancing measures that helped to relieve the spread of disease in some of the hospitals that were caring for wounded soldiers in that war. So 200th birthday of Florence Nightingale and International Nurses Day yesterday. And of course, especially during this time of COVID-19, wanting to recognize all those folks in our community and around the city as well. Florence Nightingale was also known for her infographics, her pie charts. She was a statistician, and a lot of the work that she did around those physical distancing measures showed up in that way as well. So today, in honor of Florence Nightingale, I have some infographics of our own to show how we as a cathedral, while we are physically distant, we are socially and spiritually connected in new forms of worship and gathering during this time. So here you will see an overview of worship that's happening at the cathedral right now. So I'll go through each one by one, but just a brief overview. Throughout the week, we have Sunday morning Eucharist, godly play, Sunday evening prayer, morning prayer on weekdays, Tuesday centering prayer in the evening, and Thursday healing prayer at noon. So that's an overview of all of the worship services that are now online at the cathedral. So starting with Sunday morning Eucharist. So these services are pre-recorded on Monday evenings, and we have a maximum of 8 people who are involved in these services, and that includes our tech folks behind the cameras. And so presider, preacher, deacon, reader, and intercessor are one role at this time. And we have drawn liturgical leadership from across the 8, 10:30, and 5:30 services for our Sunday morning online worship. And that's all pre-recorded on Monday evenings. Rupert Lang, our director of music, has been doing a fabulous job of selecting pre-recorded music, which is stitched into the video by our producer extraordinaire, Alicia Ambrosio. And that happens every week as well when that recording is put together. You will have also noticed that ASL continues to be included in our Sunday morning worship. Accessibility, of course, continues to be a value for the cathedral. Funnily enough, ASL and other accessibility services are often the first thing to get dropped during times of crisis and during pandemics. So really showing the spirit and value of the cathedral that we've been able to continue to offer this during our Sunday morning worship. You will have noticed as well that throughout Holy Week, we were able to invite guest preachers and really had that huge gift of the Synod Office overseeing worship for Holy Week. And a little fun fact, the Diocese of New Westminster is the only diocese, as I understand it from Archbishop Melissa, currently offering Eucharist online. And so we are at the cathedral playing a special role in the ecclesiastical province as well during this time, and drawing in viewers from not only our own cathedral community and the diocese, but around the province as well. So that's a really wonderful and special role that we get to play at this time with this service. And you may have also noticed in the last couple of weeks some wonderful fabric flower displays that have showed up. And this was a response and outpouring from members of our altar guild and friends who wanted to contribute to the beauty and set design of our Sunday morning worship. So you'll notice those showing up from here on out as well. In the future, as Archbishop Melissa said, we are beginning to draft a plan for what limited reopening looks like for our worship services. Going forward, we will continue to live stream, continue to make online worship accessible for as long as we can. Archbishop Melissa has committed a gift from her discretionary fund to the cathedral to enable us to purchase live streaming audio and visual equipment to help us improve our services and what we can offer at this time. So please do be assured that this will continue to be an option even as a limited reopening occurs. Okay, so that's it from Studio 690, I like to call it, Sunday morning Eucharist. Then every Sunday we have godly play, as well as on Wednesday mornings. And this is our children and families liturgy of the word, the storytelling program where children and families hear the stories from the Christian scriptures told by Anne Kessler and Caitlin Beck as well. St. Andrews Wesley and Christ Church Cathedral have been partnering in this initiative. and offering this twice a week. So Godly Play will continue, and as Anne mentioned at the beginning of the call today, with folks joining in as far as Alaska. So please do continue to connect there as well. And this happens on Zoom. Then we have Sunday evening prayer, which happens every week. This is hosted by St. Bridget's Community, and Marnie is the primary clergy contact for this service. And a really just wonderful liturgy of evening prayer, and this happens on Zoom as well. If you've been missing singing during worship, Sunday evening prayer is a great place to join in on Zoom. Ben Dobbins, the musician for St. Bridget's, is there with his keyboard and leading music, and really wonderful to be able to sing and join in from home during Sunday evening prayer. And that happens every week at 5:30. Morning prayer has been this wonderful green shoot of new life in our cathedral community. So we have gone from about 2 people attending morning prayer when we were in the building, upwards of 16, 17 people now daily on morning prayer. And our curate, the Reverend Andre Stephanie, really took the initiative here and got this going. And now there is a wonderful rotation of officiants that includes lay people, and it's really open. It's a great way to try prayer out for the first time, to try an Anglican form of prayer as well if you're new to the tradition. And I really encourage you to check it out. It's Monday to Fridays, 9:30 in the morning, and this happens on Zoom as well. Tuesday Centering prayer is 6:30 on Tuesday evenings, and this is hosted by Bill Larkham, a parishioner from St. Bridget's congregation, and everyone's welcome to this service. It's just a wonderful hour of meditation, quiet, and centering prayer, kind of a gem of our Christian tradition that we are learning to explore. So invite you to check that out as well. Thursday healing prayer just started last week and will continue again this week. And we'll continue to tweak it and see how we can make it more and more an inviting environment. So these are your trained healing prayer ministers from throughout the parish who are gathering and continuing to uphold those prayer requests that come in through prayer link, through clergy, through members of the community. And we do gather on Thursdays at noon to offer those prayers for healing. So please do know that continues, and continue to invite your requests as well. You can email them to a clergy person or to reception@thecathedral.ca, and just make sure to ask the person you're praying for if it's okay to have their name on that list. So once more, just an overview of the worship services that are happening throughout the week, now online at the cathedral and continuing to grow. We're always exploring what new services we can transition online and what ways folks are looking to worship at this time. Now, of course, we do always in our life at the cathedral have many small groups that are happening. And this is the ones that we know about, we think. There are many more. And just to give you a brief glimpse of what's going on right now, we have the Truth and Reconciliation book circles that continue to meet online and are open to new members. These are folks really committed to answering that call from the Truth and Reconciliation Commission to educate ourselves around Indigenous history. And so these book circles continue. Pastoral phone calls. Andre and the Reverend Jeffrey Price, one of our deacons, have been working with volunteers around the cathedral just to phone and check in on people and see how they're doing. And that work continues. Men's Breakfast was meeting, as I understand, once every 4 to 6 weeks, now meets every other week. So this group really deepening their spirituality and support for each other, and exciting to see the ways that it's growing by going online. Wondering Wednesdays with Alistair, the Reverend Alistair Smith, another one of our deacons. This happens every Wednesday over the lunch hour. Great place to explore questions connected to faith and life. We have Bible Read Along on Monday evenings with Marnie, Anglican 101 coming soon. This is just an introduction to the Anglican tradition, more info to come. Parents check-in happens every week, and I think those of you who are parents and who maybe transition to working from home the same day your kids' daycare close will know what an uphill battle this time has been. And so the Cathedral is providing this wonderful space hosted by our Children, Youth and Families Coordinator, just to check in with each other, talk about how it's going, share ideas, share strategies, share war stories, that kind of thing. Young Adults Bible Tea and Toast continues Sunday mornings at 9:30 with the Reverend Andre Stephanie. If you are under 39-ish, I think is the cutoff, then you're welcome to join that group. Youth group for teenagers continues, and just told me today that an upcoming youth event is going to include our primate, Linda Nichols. So if you have teenagers, youth in your lives, get connected with Anne and have an opportunity to speak with the primate of the Anglican Church of Canada. Andre just this week has been starting to invite members of the pastoral team to host coffee, and these would happen throughout the week. Again, just a place to connect socially, check in with each other, see how we're doing. So, very brief overview of some of the small groups and where they're happening around the cathedral. So, we need you to take action. As Archbishop Melissa said at the beginning of this call, so much of the health, the vibrancy, the life of the cathedral at this time depends on your participation. And so my invitation to you today is to choose a small group or a worship service that you heard me describe in our call this evening, one or two that piqued your interest. Email Andre at thecathedral.ca to get the details for joining that group or joining that service, and invite a friend to go with you. This is an opportunity like no other to connect with friends in your community and really around the world with some of the really exciting spiritual and social offerings that the cathedral has at this time. So please do take action, and I look forward to hearing how you're staying connected with the cathedral at this time. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Helen. And a couple things, did see a couple folks weren't able to see it. We will, I'm presuming, Helen, be able to post those slides up on the website, so you'll be able to see them. It's really cool to hear the bells. And a couple of questions for you, my friend. And I'm conscious of our time, but two folks curious about, this is still being worked out, I'm sure, but Gail and Diane are wondering about continuing the live stream portion even after we're physically, some of us are physically back in. Is that our intention? Do we have a thought about that, Helen?
Yes, so definitely our intention is to continue to live stream. That has been one of the silver linings of this whole thing, that we've had the opportunity to invest in that technology and those staff resources as well. And as I mentioned in my presentation, Archbishop Melissa has gifted us with some funds to be able to do that, and we are thrilled. I know, Melissa, you're so excited to see the cathedral grow and thrive, and so we're really grateful for that gift.
Great. So Jane Osler is asking about helpful to see the links, but I saw that you've got an ask that people reach out to Andre, so curate at thecathedral.ca. Jane, that'll help. Interesting question here from Stuart asking, is it technically possible for godly play to be offered to independent schools who offer religious classes? Interesting idea. We'll take that under advisement, Stuart. There's somebody coming in through as anonymous attendee asking about the challenges involved with sustaining the recordings and live streamings of the Eucharist. There's a long list of those challenges. So I'll ask you to reach out to who, Helen? Who would be the best contact? To Helen, reach out. Great. So if you would just reach out. And David is wondering about when we're going to be introduced to Chris as our new rector. Do we have some thoughts on that, Helen and maybe Melissa?
So Sunday, June 7th is Chris's first Sunday at the cathedral. That service will be pre-recorded and live streamed on Sunday morning, 10:30, June 7th. And Chris will be preaching that day. So we'll get to hear from him right off the bat out of the pulpit. And Chris's first day is Monday, June 1st. But yeah, first Sunday is June 7th. And Archbishop, there's other details.
I mean, we'll be working, or he and the cathedral staff are working on some way to, while we're not gathering in person, to have some kind of get to know you. I think that would be really great.
All right. All right. Well, that brings us to I just want to make sure I've got all the questions, and I think I do. So Paul is asking about live stream. Do you mean broadcasting live in real time? And it's my understanding, Paula, that we're moving towards that. I see a couple of folks nodding their heads.
Yeah.
And that is largely due to making it as safe as possible for everybody concerned. So thanks.
And actually, the editing with including the music, pre-recording, it's actually a pretty big job.
It's a huge.
So we're trying to kind of focus resources and people's time, and there is really something about the real-time experience that we hear is quite valuable for people.
Great, great. So thank you all very much. I want to give a shout out to Marnie, who's been, besides being the part of the presentation on Maundy Cafe, has been our host, making sure that everything was actually running as well as it could be. So thanks very much. Thanks to Emily, to Mike, to Alberto, to Helen. I'll come to you in a second, Dixie. Thank you very much, Melissa. And we're going to have two things to close us out. Melissa, if you could leave us with a prayer, and then if we could go over to Dixie for a hello and a diaconal dismissal.
Delighted to do that. And I know it's awkward, but let's do it together. Glory to God, whose power working in us can do infinitely more than we can ask or imagine. Glory to God,
from generation
to generation, in Christ Jesus and in the church, forever and ever. Amen. We might be a little rusty.
Practice.
Wow. Anyway.
Thank you.
Please, Dixie, dismiss us.
Yeah.
Let us go in peace to love and serve our risen Lord. Alleluia.
Thanks
be to God.
Alleluia. And thank you, Alistair.
Thanks, everybody. Take care. And if your question wasn't answered, we'll make sure that you get an answer. Thanks so much, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.